Let me change my background up here so I can get it right. Okay. Ooh, I think I'm gonna change my lighting too. And washed out here where I am right
Yeah, it's super bright.
Isn't it? It's like, oh, this for the folks who can't. Wait a minute, let me try something else. I think
Okay.
it may take it too dark. Let me
In
check.
the meantime, we've got Philly in the house. We've got Fort Worth, Texas. Hello tonight, everybody. We have a special guest tonight. Once you put your city and state in the chat, we are officially live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Periscope. So while Trish is getting ready there, I am going to open things up here for us
Super, all set.
so I can see us on the different social channels here. And we're gonna get started in a few minutes.
Mhm.
Yes, we are. All righty. Chesapeake, Virginia, welcome, welcome to everybody. In the meantime, I do have a couple of announcements. The first big announcement is Mr. Roland Martin himself is coming to visit us at the 10K Project to talk about, can we truly build Black wealth in the Biden-Harris administration? Can we truly do it? What is going to be happening from an economic point of view? What kind of programs are we looking at? What kind of policies are we looking at? I personally, I said this before at the 6 o'clock hour, people spent tens of millions of dollars to get Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court and Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, tens of millions of dollars each for those individuals. I don't believe it was just for Roe v. Wade. What is coming up? What is coming around the corner? The United States is changing, and we need to change with it. We need to be ahead of the curve, or at least know what is happening so that we can make wise decisions for our families when it comes to building Black wealth. So Roland Martin is coming on Saturday, November 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern time in order to talk with us. If you remember the 10K Project, just check your emails because the Zoom link is there. If you're not, come to rolandandblackwealth.eventbrite.com. That's rolandandblackwealth.eventbrite.com in order to sign up. There's no charge to attend, but this will be a powerhouse session. I'm going to ask him all the questions that I want to know about money. Money, money, money. Where's our cut? Is the theme of our conversation with Mr. Martin. And that is going to again happen on Saturday, November 21st, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Try to be in the building so you can get your questions answered too. But if you are unable to come live, definitely get on our email list, rolandandblackwealth.eventbrite.com. Get on our email list, and that way you can get the replay of this. Because second thing, we are still building on the Black Family Wealth Challenge, FamilyWealthChallenge.Black. FamilyWealthChallenge.Black. It is a 7-week program that we are doing to help organize our families using a little known wealth building tool called the Family Bank. If you want to be a part of that, FamilyWealthChallenge.Black. Some of you are saying, I don't like my family, I don't want to do it with my family. That's fine, you can do it by yourself. But these are the tools that wealthy people use in order to build generational wealth. Wealthy people think in terms of 4 generations plus. We as Black people keep thinking just our kids or just our grandkids if they're here. We've got to think beyond that. So FamilyWealthChallenge.Black, FamilyWealthChallenge.Black, FamilyWealthChallenge.Black. We did an interview with a Black family, started off with $25 per month per family member, grew it to 7 figures. They spent 90 minutes with us. They talked about their ups and downs, how they did it, how we can do it too. And that is the basis of the Black Family Wealth Challenge. So on Monday, this coming Monday, November 16th, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we do have someone coming on to talk about how to create a 100-year family wealth plan. But you got to be a part of the challenge for that. FamilyWealthChallenge.black. That's FamilyWealthChallenge.black. So, Trish, do you have everything together now?
I am ready and listening to all your great information that you're sharing there. Fantastic.
Yes. And we talked a little earlier today, everybody, and I was like, we can't say too much because we want to have all the good stuff for the
Ah,
call tonight.
say it, say it, say it
So,
all, say it all.
but Trish and I met randomly actually at a networking event several years ago, and we were friends from first sight. She's a wonderful woman. She runs an organization called Iron to Iron for Women, and it's based on the biblical verse, iron sharpens iron. So, I asked her to come. I said, what do you want to talk about? And she said, I want to talk about winning and winning coming from within. And excellent topic for us to talk about. Yes, I see you, Atlanta. Welcome, welcome from Atlanta. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So, Trish, why don't you tell everyone about yourself and why did you choose this topic?
Yes, so as Cherie mentioned, my name is Trish Lawton. I'm the founder of Iron to Iron for Women Incorporated. It is an organization to help women start and build their business in the early stages of their business growth. And so we do that through our training curriculum program, where we have associates, professionals in, oh my goodness, a myriad of walks of professional subject matter experts, as Cherie and I have met, because in terms of writing a business plan, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you need to have a plan. A plan is your roadmap, your GPS. Where are you going and how are you going to get there? We have marketing gurus that help in terms of traditional marketing and, of course, using this platform of the social media marketing that we have. In terms of, we have a CPA will help women in terms of their taxes, knowing what you need to know for business tax purposes. And we have an attorney too, as well, in terms of how do you want to legally structure your business? Are you an LLC? Are you a sole proprietorship, a C Corp, an S Corp? So all of those things matter. And so we have those and a whole host of other instructors in terms of communication, leadership, just a gamut of things, again, to help build women's confidence in themselves and to get them started in entrepreneurship. The name again comes from just the inspiration that iron sharpens iron. We are not an island to ourselves, and no one should be. You should come alongside another person to help develop that dream that is within you, to help to get information. We should be helping one another as a community, should come together to support one another. So we just put that out there, that iron is sharpening iron. We're sharpening one another. We're sharpening our sisters, and we're happy to do so. I personally always say, I am my sister's keeper. So it's very personal from in that regard. This topic that I shared with Cherie, winning is within you. You have to have a mindset at the start, at the outset of whatever it is that you're going to do. You have to set a goal and know that no matter what comes, I'm going to persevere and I'm going to win at achieving this goal. And you have the capacity, you have the ability, you have the tenacity, you have everything that it takes to be the winner that you believe that you are. And it starts there. You have to believe that you are. Oh, I think you're on
I'm
mute.
sorry, I'm on mute. Yeah, so I didn't realize I went on mute. I think that we underestimate how important the inner work is to success. When I was younger, um, just getting out of high school, going into college, I had the self-esteem issues.
Mm,
I was not very athletic as a teenager or anything like that. I was kind of I was a semi-brainiac, but then moving into college, I do remember being this fish out of water, right? Not having the comforts of grandma and mom and, all of that. And understanding as I went through the college experience that I've really had to work on the inside and the internal much more than the schoolwork and external and all of that. And even as I have grown up over the years, there's this continuous process of working on the inside and believing. And if we don't believe in ourselves, for example, let's take, just Black wealth, right? If we
Mm,
don't believe that our families can build Black wealth, then it doesn't matter, what we do in terms of scrimping and scraping and building a business, etc. It's not going to work. So tell me a little bit more about your process of really working with people to kind of build up that esteem, I guess is what we'll call it.
right. And you said something that I want to address first, Cherie, while it's on my mind, building wealth. That has become such the hot topic in our community amongst our families, right? And I think it's because maybe Black folks just never really thought about being wealthy even. Has it been an option? Has it been viable for us? But somehow it's been on the back burner. And in some instances, it hasn't even been around the stove at all. And that's an issue because we really should look at in terms of building wealth within our families, being able to leave a legacy to not only our children, but children's children. So I'm going to be just very candid and transparent, you all, okay? So we will see in many other communities when little Johnny and little Mary get ready to go to college, well, it's no problem or issue for them because someone has set up a trust fund for them. Someone thought about them when they were still in the womb. Someone has developed some amount of monies for this child and this child's trajectory going forward. We have to begin to think like that at the outset in terms of if I'm going to bring a child into the world, how am I going to support that child? And not just in terms of the basic needs of food, clothing, and a roof over their head, but simply how am I going to help even that child get to the win? Because that child has a life and they have a right to win in life. And what am I going to do as that child's parent and the parent to help that child to get there? That's something that is strategic, that should be planned out early on, right? And so please put that out there, have that on your mind, have that on your radar, that in terms of wealth, wealth is something that somebody is going to have to sacrifice today for tomorrow. I can't eat and party all my money, all my funds away, and think that there's going to be something left. It is called investment. It is called planning for tomorrow. And what steps are we going to do to begin taking those steps and looking out for our retirement, looking out for our children and our grandchildren. So again, grandmas have sometimes put away a little money, and that was a help. But we should not always be starting and expecting our young people to start at ground zero because there should be some amount of wealth, some amount of investments already made that now we can take and we says, oh, okay, you know, whatever that child's name is, that here is your money to go to college. Here is your money as an investment in your own business, something to give that is a cushion that I don't have to send my child out into the wilderness to scrape from nothing to start with. Where is that start? Help that child to get there. And so I'm saying that because that's the building block again of Iron to Iron for Women. We're doing this through this organization. We're wanting to transform communities. We're wanting to transform lives of people. And I'm definitely wanting to look at a pipeline from college to employment through people who look like us. We no longer really should have to depend on others offering our millennials and our young people employment. Where are we? Where are our businesses? Why can't we employ someone?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
So we need to start thinking like that. We need to start building bridges. And when we talk about our communities that in many of the major cities right now are in disarray, right? Not biting my tongue. They're in disarray. We need to help them and we can help them. And entrepreneurship is an avenue to that help in terms of helping women, which is, excuse me, what we do in terms of helping women build in terms of economic independence and economic development because they can see I can establish and have my own job right now, right? So if I'm working for someone else, I'm susceptible to them laying me off. But if I have my own employment, not only all the perks and all of the tax write-off and everything that comes with that, but there's some self-esteem because it's empowering. You are your own boss. And that's what you should sort of begin to look at and begin to build and to think wealthy, think success, and think succession. And succession is within your own family, passing the baton on to others who can assist you and who will be the beneficiaries from what you establish. I don't know
So
if I
since
answered
you're
all
not
your
biting,
questions.
no. Actually, it caused me to have three additional questions here. So
Uh-oh.
since you're not biting your tongue, I'm not going to bite mine either.
Okay, don't
And the
bite.
conversation is about to turn left, everybody. It's just
Okay.
about to turn left, and
Okay.
that's just
For the faint of
it.
heart, that
So,
means they
no,
got the exit
to,
license.
Tawana's not here tonight, so we can do this. Okay, shh. All
Mhm.
right. For those of everybody who knows who Tawana is, Tawana is like the one that pulls my reins and says, you shouldn't be saying that. But since we're not going to bite our tongues, let's not bite our tongues. Okay. Something that you said that I disagree with a little bit. You said that Black wealth is the hot thing right now and that our families haven't really thought about it before. I disagree with that. I think the real issue is that we had Freeman Bank. Those families thought about it. And as soon as they built something, it was taken away and never replenished. We
Mhm.
had Greenwood, Rosewood. We built things.
Mhm.
Those generations got it taken away. I think every generation, then you had Martin and Malcolm in the 60s and Medgar Evers, and that was taken away. And then you had, the 80s were kind of a little bit of the grand time for people, right? Affirmative action. But now you're starting to see affirmative action programs taken away and globalization happening. And, you know, um, there was a time when Rebecca, the house next door to mine was my competition for a job. And now my competition is in India or China somewhere. I don't think that Black people haven't thought about building wealth. Our families have tried to build wealth every generation, but it seems like every time we move forward, we get knocked down. We move forward, we get knocked down. What is your thought with regards to that?
So
Because I think that's a very real thing that
right,
people are concerned with.
right. So in response, then I'm still holding to my opinion because I
Hmm.
do believe that Black people still are not focused there. Yes, I hear everything that you say. I'm very much aware of that. PBS, as a matter of fact, has a very beautiful documentary on banks. As a matter of fact, even the first Black woman in the 50s that was the head of her own bank. So we were very prevalent. But here, are you hearing what we're saying? Were, was, past, not replenished. Okay, so let's bring it forward to the 21st century where we are today.
Hmm.
I don't see that kind of enthusiasm. I don't see that rekindling of what was there. I shouldn't have to reach back 2 and 3 generations ago to the successes of our people in terms of why are we stopping there? What we can't ever stop at the successes of those who've gone before us. If anything, that should be a spark for us to pick that baton up and run to the finish line because guess what? I now know it can be done. I've seen it done. It was successful. So yes, while there's competition, and that will always be here as long as we're in America, and
Hmm.
we're going to have it from all sides, from those who don't want to see us successful. We're going to have it sometimes from those who look like us, even. So that's a part of when I first started talking, I mentioned the winning within you is this mindset. You have to know that, no, this is not a walk in the park. There's going to be some speed bumps along the way. And if you can't stomach the height of going over a speed bump and coming back down, it's going to be a problem because it's not going to be an easy walk necessarily, but you have to have that determination and that fortitude to continue going forward.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So Eric Spence, one of our co-founders of the 10K Project, showed us a study that said that when 3.5% of any community gets together, social change happens. And it was a study
Mhm.
that was done based on how social change happens within different countries for like political change. It takes 3.5%. I believe that also trickles down to the Black community. If 3.5% of us, which is 1.3 million of us, get together and say, hey, we're going to build Black wealth together as a community,
Mm.
and we're going to start playing chess, and we're going to start sharing resources, and we're going to start building and owning assets and land and alternative assets and all of that. And we're also going to participate in investing in Black businesses, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. Then that is the way for us to begin to win. And that is winning from within as well, in terms of every individual saying, hey, you know, I'm looking to do this, to build wealth. And I'm going to come together and play wealth as a team sport like other people do, because no one really ever gets wealthy. At least I haven't seen. They don't do it by themselves. You need team members in order to do it.
So to that point, Cherie, one of many problems that we have in our community, and I've often mentioned this, especially of late, and I guess I reflect back on from my childhood to where I am now as a middle-aged woman, and that is in terms of we are so fractured as a people. The reason why, when you mention all of those banks and the successes of that particular era that has gone before us, they had of a unified mind. They had a mindset and a spirit to build. They knew what it took in terms of supporting Black businesses, because when those banks opened, it was Black people who were bringing their monies there. It wasn't necessarily white people, it was Black people because they believed in it. But the mindset today is something a little bit scary, a little bit, because you can have a Black business and it's people who look like us, you all, that will then question the integrity of that business. We don't even necessarily look at it as being viable because we've been brainwashed a lot to think that something else is better. Now, I'm not going to ask by a show of hands or anyone to voice it. How many people think that even our HBCUs are somehow inferior, second class? They're not going to get the same level of education. Those are the institutions that are cranking out the movers and the shakers. We got a VP elect, you all, right from an HBCU. So, I mean, don't discount what it is that people have done and people are doing. We're going to get the nurturing that's needed when we send our children to Black institutions, the historically Black colleges and universities. We're going to get, in terms of coddling one another when we come together and support one another. But in this environment where it's so much in terms of we're fractured as a people, we're fractured as a community, it's hard to have cohesion because there's such a great divide. And you have people who think this way and that way. And I'm not saying that we have to be puppets and agree with one another, but you're going to have some agreement to start some foundation. If we're trying to start a business and you want to go to the right and I want to go to the left, we're going to have a problem right at the outset.
Absolutely. And I want to say hello to everybody on YouTube right now. I see the healing session. I see Tawana Chapman in here. Hello to everybody who is watching on YouTube as well. So George is saying, I did wonder if my HBCU education was less than. Then I started my career. I think it was as good, as, if not better, than a PWI. Fantastic. Fantastic. So, I want to also talk about what you said about employing people and our cities being in disarray. And that's when you said you wouldn't hold your tongue. So I said, okay, well, then the conversation can go left. Okay. There was a study done that looked at youth violence and Black business ownership in a community. There is a direct correlation between Black business ownership in a community and youth violence. Go and check out the study. Actually, when we come out with our economic study that we're doing with Eddie the Economist, I haven't mentioned it in a while, but it's coming out. When we have that come out, that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about. The other thing is with the 10K project, if anyone is new here, what we're doing is we're applying to the federal government to do something called equity crowdfunding. Fancy term, super simple concept. Our Black businesses are the least likely to get funded. And we have a whole group of people over here that want to buy Black. If we're buying Black, let's start investing Black as well. How do we do that? If 10,000 people come together, put $100 each into a business, that's $1 million. The community can start funding its own businesses, profiting from its own innovation, creating jobs, and we can build Black wealth together. This is not something you can slap up a website and do this. You actually have to go through the Securities and Exchange Commission and FINRA in order to do it. The co-founders and I have been fingerprinted. We have to go through FBI background checks. It is a long process to get approved for this. However, we are in the process of doing that. We've actually already gotten our check mark from the SEC, and we are in the process of filing for our FINRA application. That is our big goal within the 10K project. So if you want to be a member of the 10K project, help us finance this in terms of you'll be a member of the 10K project. We have all sorts of members only activities that we do. And you would also be helping us to push this goal forward. We are looking at, I know an election just happened, and yes, I'm looking for every dollar that Biden and Harris can swing our way. Don't get it twisted. That's why we have Roland Martin come to talk about that. But I believe that true wealth building is going to come from the ground up. True economic development in the Black community is going to come from the ground up. So I'm asking any and everybody who's listening, if you believe in what I just said and you want to be able to be a part of this community, go and check us out at the10kproject.com, the10kproject.com in order to help us with that. So I know I said a whole lot, Trish, but I did want to bring it back to the study about youth violence and Black business ownership and employment in the community, because I think our businesses are in disarray because most of our businesses don't have the funding to really start and grow the way that our counterparts do. And that is hurting us. And no one is coming to save us. So we do need to figure out a way where we can finance our own businesses. So I'm going to toss that here to you.
So in terms of, you want me to respond to specifically what that study or
any part of it that you want to respond to?
One of the things, well, again, we have so many ills in our community. It's almost hard to get our arms around where to start. But I'm not going to say that the challenges are so big that they can't be overcome. That would be a very pessimistic attitude to take. But we do have to sort of start just like a tree, cutting down a tree. We have to start somewhere, chopping it down, even if we have to chop at it, several. Make several hits at it, right, to sort of bring it down, kind of thing. We have young people who are hurting because of communities that they're in, feeling like that they are abandoned in their educational system, abandoned in their country. And so a lot of these issues are just sort of, they're left out there on their own to fend for themselves for that. We as adults, feel sort of left out too. I mean, I listen to, and I'm just going to say again this, in terms of Black Lives Matter, we still have other communities. It's difficult for them to say that Black Lives Matter. We know all human life matters. That's a given. But we're saying specifically due to the disparate treatment that our race encounters in this country, can we all agree that Black lives matter? We all are human beings. And so when we are looking at just something as basic as that, wow, you can really realize that the issue just sort of mounts on top of that. I'm an economist, an economist by education and by trade, economics degree. And it is, unfortunately, in terms of when we look at statistics for a lot of what is happening to us as the people across the country, it is unfortunate. But the thing about that is, if I'm running a race with you and I handicap you, I start running before you start. I leave you handicapped at the start and say, don't you start until I've gotten out here by at least 60 seconds ahead of you. I'm a fast runner. You're not going to catch me. Okay. I've handicapped you. But then I present the narrative as if, hey, you were in the same race I'm in. Why couldn't you win? Why couldn't you catch up? That is what we're dealing with, people. We're dealing with a lot of handicaps that some we've inherited, some we even exacerbate ourselves, meaning, again, I'm sort of getting off the subject here because I've been confronted sometimes by people who will say, well, wait a minute. Black lives don't even matter to blacks because we have black on black crime and black on black shooting. And yes, those things exist, but again, get at the root of why they exist. Get at the root of, in terms of broken homes and broken families and lack of education, a lack of even feeling that they matter. And so all of those things are systemic too. When we talk about our nation and what's systemic in terms of the racial disparity in the country, there's some systemic problems too within these individuals, within our young people that have not been addressed. And unfortunately, the problem solvers cannot be the people who have the problem. They need a community around them. And that's another thing when I spoke earlier about having the fracture that we're dealing with as a community, we have a fracture in terms of just simply trying to come together in unity, that these problems are not going to go away on their own. And I'm hoping that we can convince other communities that they need to invest in the problems of solving themselves, simply because no one is going to get away unscathed. Meaning that the problems in these particular communities, right, these depressed or suppressed communities, they're going to spill over into your community, into my communities. So much so that you're going to have to address the elephant in the room. So for those who want to stick their head in the sand and says, oh, that's across the street, that's over there, that's not going to bother me. Oh, yes, it will. Yes, it will. And I sometimes use this kind of analogy. I don't want to be in the hospital and here's someone who's poorly educated. They don't even know maybe that this is the medication that I should have, or they're trying to put a needle in my arm, because of you're going to get the brunt, or someone at a store that you shop and you get poor customer service. This is again because we have left some people behind and we just really can't afford to do that. Oh, you're on mute again, Sheree.
I keep putting myself on mute.
Mhm.
Yeah, and George is saying here about black on black crime being a poor argument. So, I think all of this is just one of those things is very complex, which is why I wanted to, within the 10K project, say, okay, what can we focus on ourselves and with our families? And if each family focuses on what they can do as a nuclear unit, then and if we all come together and collectively figure out how to fund our own businesses, create our own jobs, and work with each other, then it's one of those things where I think it's the 80-20 rule. We do 20%
Mhm.
of fix 20% of the problem and have 80% of the results, basically. So let's go back though to the conversation of the night, which is all about winning being within us, because sometimes the things that we've spoken about over the last 10 minutes seems insurmountable, right?
Mhm.
What can we do individually in order to win?
Right. And so, and I'm glad we're turning it. I do want to be very optimistic because to win, you have to be optimistic. You have to have that foundation again. I shared early on. You have to have that belief system that I can do this. Because if you start out with that I can't, then more than likely you can't. If you believe that you can't, you can't. But winning is going to be everyone looking at themselves as having an opportunity to contribute and then actually following through and contributing in whatever way that means for you in terms of showing up. We can't leave it in someone else's backyard and ignore it or act like, it's going to get resolved on its own. So that means what can you do? Okay. So we can talk about this at all levels. I mean, in terms of if we want to keep it just within the bandwidth of business and entrepreneurship, that kind of thing, or if we want to talk about it from a social economic point of view, with regard to in terms of have you volunteered? Have you volunteered at a soup kitchen? Have you volunteered to help in a literacy program? in terms of something very, very basic or minute, not in terms of, so we talk about excuses, right? So we can't give the excuse any longer. Oh, I don't have time for it. I don't want to be bothered with it. What are we willing to do in terms of seeing changes? And for those who have businesses and have businesses that you now have scaled up to the level that you can hire someone, are you hiring people who look like us? Are you hiring those young people, giving them an opportunity? And even more so, to the men, can you take a young Black male under your wing and mentor him? Can you coach him? Can you give him an opportunity as an apprentice, not only to see you walk out your success in front of him, maybe as a business owner or as a professional, just walking out life as a man, being a man example to this person is phenomenal, is something that is a win in and of itself. Because when we look at, our younger generation in terms of, do we have enough role models? And I don't mean those that are on television, on Netflix, or any of that. And I don't mean those shows where, it's the housewives of this or the housewives of that. I mean in terms of living role models that they can touch, that they can see. And I'll make this real in my own experience. So these past 2 years, I went to check out this program because I said, oh, okay, put your money where your mouth is. So I said, I'm going to volunteer and tutor, something I wanted to do for a while. I was amazed when I got there. The students were students of color at an at risk community. 99.98% of the tutors were white. And I immediately started thinking, okay, I applaud them. I applaud them for giving of their time, giving of their knowledge to help the students. Then I thought, as a Black woman, as a Black mom, as a Black educator, in terms of the impact of their experience of not seeing someone that looks like them, that talks like them, someone that they can relate to, that's absent. And what message are we sending by saying, I don't even have time for you? Let these other people come in here and tutor you. So when going back to Black Lives Matter, if their lives matter, we have to show up and let them know that it matters. So winning is doing what you can in the space that you can, utilizing what you already have. You don't have to go out here and get anything new. You don't have to do anything new. It is already within you what you have that can benefit someone else. And it could be someone else even in partnering, someone else that can come alongside you and mirror what you are doing. You'll be surprised at, you are an influencer. You're already an influencer. You're an influencer in your community, in your church, in your workplace, in your business place. So there are people who are watching you. What impact are you having in their lives and on their lives? How are you investing in taking time out from just being sort of focused on what it is that you're doing in terms of reaching out to help others? I try to use our Iron to Iron platform to always promote women business owners, really giving them a boost and giving them a shout out because one, it starts with a feeling. And I like to say, we're their cheerleaders. We are here to cheer you, just like you would on the football field, just like you would on the basketball court. There's a team out there, and they need to know, especially when they're down, when the score is down, score is low, who cheering them on. We're cheering them on. We're encouraging them to run on. And we do it in community. We do it one to another so that there's that motivation, there's that determination, and there's that success. Now, will some of them have corporations and maybe scale up? Maybe not. Some will, some won't. We've seen some successes, some very positive successes. Uh, some women who were working a full-time job and who were running a business, and some now who just solely run their business. That's their primary income, and that's fantastic. But again, it's the self-esteem inside too that they get from doing this. And it's the self-esteem that someone else can get from you allowing that person to walk alongside you as you're doing life. That's what it boils
Yeah.
down to.
Yeah, you said a lot. So Latrice is saying, yes, community role models are needed. Trish is saying visual representation is so necessary. There's something about seeing those of your own race win. And I think that is
Yeah, that's key.
absolutely,
That's key.
absolutely true. I remember when Hidden Figures came out, and
Mm.
I was in my late 30s when that movie came out, looking at the screen, mouth wide open, going, I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah.
Imagine if I had seen this visual representation when I was 18. I might have tried, to become a scientist, right? Or a computer scientist or something like that. And how many young ladies and men saw Hidden Figures and said, I can be that. I can do that. I could go work at NASA. I didn't even know there were Black people that work to help get, the people on it. Like, we don't even think about these things. And that's where I think media is so important. The other thing that I think that you did when you were talking is redefine what winning is. Winning is not just about having stacks on stacks in a bank account.
Yeah.
I think so. My father was a very interesting man. I'll just say that. And one of the things he told me early on in life was how important it was for him to have peace in his home. And he, didn't, he cared less about having like a whole lot of extra money in his bank account. His peace in his home was like the most important thing to him. And for him, that was winning, I think for others of us, we define winning differently. And a part of it is figuring out what winning means to you as an individual, what it means for your business, what it means for your life, what it means for the community, and then, figuring out how we want to plug in to each of those things. So what are your thoughts about that, about either the media representation or
Oh,
redefining what
my.
winning means?
Okay, I'm just gonna say it because you all may not have me back again.
You're
and,
my friend. I'll
and you
have you
may
back again.
and you may not like me after this, but I'm gonna say this. The, just simply because there are a lot of different views on it, not a lot of different views, but it's interesting the different views that exist against in our community. So talk about the media, right?
Mhm.
We do not hold the media accountable like we should. Okay, when you allow the media to depict us as a people, as a community in negative, uh, degrading ways, that's how people who don't even know us will believe that we are. I don't know, how many of you travel. I'm going to presume everyone travels to one degree or the other. So I've been blessed to be able to travel quite a bit, even during my educational years in terms of traveling. You have people who believe that when they meet you as a Black person, you're the person that they've seen on the big screen. Now, think about oftentimes when we are portrayed in movies, it's not like we're the superhero, which is why Black Panther was just phenomenal, right? The Black community just went crazy at a superhero because what he represented to us on an emotional level and that connection. Okay. Can you imagine if every time you turned on a television or you were to go to the movies? I don't want to go back and just sort of pick on the Bill Cosby show at that time, but think about it, before all what happened with Bill, that was our like, oh, sit up straight and love. Wow, we got a lawyer here and we have a doctor here and we got a family that has it going on. That's not
And then
impossible.
a different world came
Yeah,
on after that.
exactly. And
Yeah.
you had images that, wow, made you feel good, made you sit up and take attention. But now
Mhm.
we know we had an era of movies where we were pimps, we were prostitutes and streetwalkers, or otherwise, it's like they say, the first one that's killed off, or it's the dumb one, or otherwise, them, to me, threatening the masculinity of men because they want to portray them in these feminine roles. You know what I mean? When I see Wesley Snipes, I'm like, Wesley Snipes, what are you doing playing that character with that wig on your head? And okay, and I'm gonna go there again. When then the folks in California decide to make certain movies an Oscar nomination, okay, And I'm like, that's not all of our stories. So now what was the argument? Some people would say, oh, Trish, wait a minute. That is true. Like, what's the one that started with a P? I'm forgetting. Just had the name of the movie on the tip of my tongue. Starts with a P. Had an Academy nomination. I could go down to Help. It'll come to me in a minute. I can
Okay.
go down, 12 Years a Slave. I can go down with the Help and the young black girl, Heavy Set.
Oh,
Beautiful,
Monique and Precious.
precious,
Precious.
precious. That's what I was
Yes.
trying to think of. Precious, beautiful young woman and everything. But that is just a slice of life. That is not all of Black people's narrative. But
Hmm.
when you continue to show that, because people will tell me, yeah, Trish, well, that did happen or that is true for us. I'm not denying that. But can we tell the whole story? Can
Hmm.
we show the gamut of who we are as a people? And not only that, I don't even want to show that. You know why? Because who is that empowering? Who is that uplifting in terms of showing that? You have to put in front of people positive images, positive role models, give them self esteem. We are fractured and disconnected because we don't know that we had people who are inventors. The street light that you stop at, that's a Black
Hmm.
man who invented the street light that you stop at. You know what I mean? That we are able to do our hair, ladies, because a Black woman or women, as the story now comes out in terms of it just wasn't all of our original Black woman that we thought. But all of these things in terms of connect you to like feeling good about yourself, right? So this is within. All of this happens within. It's hard to have greatness outside of you when there's no greatness inside of you. And the greatness inside of you again comes from that community. And hopefully it starts with your family. It starts with your extended family, your relatives, your community around you that tells you you can do it. Those who believe in you, those who show up to support you. If you don't have that kind of support system, when negative thoughts come up in your head, you might buy into it. You might succumb to thinking, "Oh, I'm not good enough. I can't do this." You have got to be strong enough to tell yourself by yourself you can do it, or otherwise that community that hopefully you have surrounded around you, your network, your tribe, your family, your friends, your boo, your whoever, okay, is there to say, yes, you can, that you
Hmm.
can do this. So we have to protect the images that we want portrayed about us for not only our sake, but for generations to come. And when I say protect, that means when you see a negative image, I love the power of the pen. Woo, woo, woo. This pen right here,
Hmm.
I will write my congressman, I will write my district representative, White House, whomever, to let them know I don't like that. I didn't appreciate that. Why is that there? I don't like that commercial McDonald's. I think this here is disparaging to my community or to me as a woman or etc. Not just to simply, oh well, that's what's on the television.
Yeah.
You don't see other communities doing that, do you?
Yeah.
No, they're
Not
not.
only that, we have to really follow through with putting our money where our mouth is. It's
Absolutely.
not it's not enough for us to get upset with Gucci because of some
Mhm.
crazy sweater. We really do have to follow through with no, no
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
No money for you,
Mhm. And
and
Therese, can I
going,
say this point? Because this
uh-huh,
this is the pinnacle right here. Stop supporting people who are not supporting you.
mhm,
These communities that you make billionaires 10 times over with all of their initial items and products that you buy, they are not putting that one penny in your community. But yet, we take all of our money and you've heard the story about how long a dollar stays in the Black community versus a white community versus an
mhm,
Asian community, that dollar goes right out of our hand right into everybody else's community, and then they're wondering, why is this community looking dilapidated? What's happening around here? We've not invested in our own communities, and
yeah,
we're buying products that sometimes I've heard designers say they don't want Black even in the products, and I'm like, whoa, that's all you had to say to me one time. I'm not in it, but then yet you still wearing it. Why are you wearing
mhm.
that product? Why are you shopping at that store that does not respect you?
This is about winning is within you and the self-esteem, and we had originally talked about that, the self-esteem. So, um, first of all, you've got a whole bunch of write-ons and true and right, and people are talking about Precious and Menace to Society, and we have people on YouTube talking about Monsters Ball and Training Day, and we're not talking about Reginald Lewis and Booker T. Washington, and the other thing is I do travel internationally, and I haven't personally had any issues with traveling internationally, but we do need to be aware of the fact that people view Black Americans differently than our counterparts. In most places, you go in with that blue passport, it really, really does mean something, but you do have to be cautious and careful of the media portrayals of us globally. And irked my nerves when those 3 basketball players went to China and thought they could steal something and caused an international event. Because that does ripple and have a ripple effect to your son going to China or Japan or places like that and saying, okay, well, what, this is all media as well. It's what CNN and MSNBC and others choose to highlight about us as well can cause us to have pluses or minuses in the international community when we're trying to do business and things like that. So I think that's hugely important. The final thing that I will say is this, going back to the economic report that we're doing, our lawyer told us not to release it until if and when we're approved by FINRA. That's the final approval that we have to get. Trish mentioned how long the Black dollar stays in the Black community. Some of that is not our fault. Here's what happened. We have our 10K project masks. They're great masks. We went to a Black vendor to get them done. He had to go to Pakistan to get them manufactured. That's something called leakage. So you may do your part and go to a Black vendor in order to get your basic needs, your restaurant, go to a restaurant to get your food made, etc. If that person has to go outside of the community to get their supplies, that's the leakage there. One of the things that we are doing within the 10K project when we start talking about what types of businesses do we want to fund, we are going to have a focus. Won't be 100% of the focus, but it will be a focus on this thing called anti-leakage. Right now, the number is at 98% leakage in the Black community. We're working with our economist, Eddie Gray. I call him Eddie the Economist, that's his mafia name. We're working with him and we're asking in a generation, 25 years, if we do what we think we can do, we have certain numbers, certain targets we want to hit. How much can we get that leakage number down? Will it ever be 0? No, because we don't own the utilities. We don't own certain things like Amazon Web Services and things like that. But can we get it down significantly enough? And by getting that leakage number down, employment goes up. Then our neighborhoods aren't as dilapidated. Then we don't have to wait for the government to get new computers for our kids in our schools that are less fortunate. We can start funding that stuff ourselves, right? Or at least we could have the power of the lobby where we can go and say, look, we need you to put as much money into this school as you're putting into this school. What else do we have to do? So those are some of the things that we're working on behind the scenes within the 10K project. Again, if you believe in our mission and what we're doing, we really could use your help. We cannot guarantee we are going to get approved. I have to say that for legal purposes, but if you believe in what we're doing, you want to come to the10kproject.com, become a member. It will really, really help us to support us in our vision of getting the ability for Black businesses to get the funding that we need so that we could push Black economics forward. So the10kproject.com for that. Anything else you have to say? We have another 6 minutes, Trish, tonight with you. Anything else you have to say with regards to how to win and winning being within you?
Yeah, so just to sort of coattail on to your comment about sometimes that's not, our, well, we can't control in terms of the supply chain is really what it is. We don't have enough of us in the supply chain to go from company A all the way to getting that product delivered.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a problem. And so when you talk about leakage, and I'm glad that you all are addressing that. Glad that what you're doing in this particular venture, I think is phenomenal. Because these kinds of grassroots efforts here, in terms of something very organic like this, lifting up and getting people to coalesce around it, I think is monumental. Is very important because we have to bring together like-minded people. So as you're reaching out to your community here, and hopefully they sort of mirror that exponentially and reach out further and further and further, where you are going to bring together people who are going to buy into what you're doing under the 10K project. And I just think that that is phenomenal because it's a start. We need to have 10 or 100 or 1,000 10K projects, right, to really have liftoff, to really see some things change. But it's a start. And we have to start somewhere. And again, I also too urge your folks. I hope that they do, become members and join with you, in this concerted effort for this. So again, wherever you are, whoever you are, do something during this COVID time. You've heard people on one side complain how things are so awful, how bad this, that, and the other. But I have challenged our ladies to sort of take a look and says, no, how are you leveraging your business under COVID? So, like, you heard that the saying goes, if you have given lemons, make lemonade. We got to make lemonade. It's time to make lemonade, you all. You can add as much
Mhm.
sugar as you want to in it, but it's time to make lemonade. So, Iron to Iron used to exist, and Cherie knows this, in person. The Holiday Inn is our sponsor of the organization. We would have a meeting room, and that's where all of our training would occur. So we've operated 100% in person, and I just thought that that was great. That was fantastic. Loved it and everything, right? And then I'm going to say probably about late 2018 or 2019, some of the ladies came and said, "Hey, Trish, have you thought about doing some things virtual?" Well, I was sort of an old fuddy duddy, sort of stuck in. I'm an extrovert. Well, I'm a bona fide extrovert. I love the in person thing. Then comes COVID. COVID says, you don't have a choice because we're getting ready to shut this thing down. And I said, okay, COVID, no, you're not. We're coming back again. We're virtual. And this has been one of the greatest eye opening experiences ever because I have met more people, have had more reach in terms of we have folks in New York, we have folks in Atlanta, I've met people in from the UK. I wouldn't have met them right here in Maryland, the state that I'm in. I would not never have met them in person, not having that opportunity. But through a virtual environment that we are now in, it's fine. And I see that it is thriving even more so because people are hungry for this kind of information. They're hungry to move forward. They're wanting to know what can we do in terms of survivability in this COVID environment. Yes, you can not only survive, you can thrive, you can leverage this and make this work. So my challenge to you all who are out there, what lemonade are you going to make? Do you like pink lemonade, raspberry, peach flavor for Atlanta, for my ATL folks? So you're going to have to make your lemonade and you're going to have to know that it's within you and to start and do something. We're not observers. Come off the fence, get off the bench, get off the bleachers, and come out onto the field and let's participate. This is a contact sport.
So I'm going to leave it with to win. You got to make some lemonade. You got to turn the lemons into lemonade
Yeah.
and pick a type of lemonade. I love it. I love it. I love it. So with that, Trish, how do people learn more about Iron to Iron for Women and potentially join your organization?
Certainly. Thank you so much, Sheree, for that. So you can contact us. You can contact us by phone at 443-776-1208. And again, I'd love to talk with you all. Love to have a dialogue in terms of anyone who's interested in for women starting a business, or even if you've already started, that we can help you. We identify ourselves as the organization for the 0 to 3. That means from the very concept of your starting your business to 3 years. By 3 years, if you've been out there, you pretty much, we believe, have gotten your arms around doing whatever it is you need to do. Okay, so from the 0 to 3 year of growth in your business, okay, 443-776-1208, or by email at Iron Entrepreneurs, that's with an S, ironentrepreneurs@gmail.com, ironentrepreneurs@gmail.com. Our Facebook business page is the same name as our organization, Iron to Iron for Women Inc., INC, or our social page is under my name, Trish Law in paren, Iron Entrepreneurs. And so we post our events, trainings, everything that we're about to host. And we're going sort of into a fun time of the year. You know, it's sort of almost approaching Christmas. So we're getting ready to have, if I may say so, Cherie, November 21st, having our holiday celebration. We have a lot of artists. It's going to be in a virtual environment, singers, instrumentalists, jazz. These are professionals, you guys. These are professionals, and they are giving of their time to do some holiday cheer and some holiday greetings to sort of take that heavy mood off of everyone and to put everyone into a festive environment. So that is going to happen on Saturday, November 21st, and that's on Eventbrite. 2020 Holiday Variety Celebration. Eventbrite.com. But don't worry about remembering any of that. One, I'm going to type my email and phone number into the chat. And if there's anything that you want to know further or anything that you didn't capture all of, I'll be more than happy to share it with you. Thank you so much, Cherie, for having me. Thank you all so very much for your attention and your time. I appreciate it. This is fantastic, Cherie. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. And I have put the Facebook group into our YouTube and Facebook, sorry, yeah, your Facebook group into our YouTube and Facebook as well, so that people are able to see that. And thank you so much, Trish, for being here. You know, don't forget, everybody, that we can win individually, we can win for our families, and we can win as a community. So we're looking to attack all three. And hopefully Trish said some things tonight that will bless you. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and we will see you on the next gathering. Bye.
Thank you.